Hello, Ryan Garland. I am your host of The Paradigm Shift. I cannot wait to expose the true inner depths of institutional wealth building and how to dig deep into real estate investing. Hey everybody, Ryan Garland here. As you guys know, I like to bring on very special guests, and today we have Dave Johnson, which is the former or soon-to-be mayor, is I think probably the best way to put it, right? So yesterday we had Cal Sheehy on, and we wanted to kind of bring Dave on and just kind of have just a different approach that I think most people don't really, I'd say, implement and practices. Our podcast has a great following. We wanted to build awareness with what these two gentlemen are, what they're trying to accomplish, what their objective is, where their hearts are, and really kind of get to understand these two boys a little differently. And I think what you see online is completely different than who these two men have been. I've had the honor to meet them both and spend time with them. And honestly, I just have really enjoyed this time that I've spent with Dave. And Dave and I really haven't spent a lot of time together.
No, actually, other than today, I've, said hello in passing, but that's about it. Yeah.
But, so I want you guys to get to know him just kind of the way I do. And I really respect this gentleman. Him and I kind of cross paths a lot in the business side, but, the fact that he's, willing to put on a bulletproof vest and step up and try to make our city a better place is honorable. And I really respect that because the world's burning and people are worried about what's going on. And, for someone to just be selfless and step up and, want to do better, seeing deficiencies in what's happening with the city. And I do that as well as a builder and developer. I'm bringing in millions of dollars. And so we get nervous too. We want to make sure we're aligned with the right people and that the right people are driving the bus. And Dave, I really appreciate you. Your outlook on life has been amazing. And you're a good man. And I really enjoy the time we spent together so far.
Well, that's a heck of a compliment for going to lunch.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say, out of all the speaking engagements, we host our Foundry deal at Wednesday, 6 to 8, every single Wednesday, and we film it. We put it on YouTube, and we've talked to the Republicans' men's groups, both women's groups. We even talked to the Democratic women's group, which actually was one of the most fun, believe it or not, it was one of the most fun things I've done. But this one is the one I've been most excited about, and I'll tell you why. It's because every single one of these things, they ask you the same questions. You give them the same answers. What are you going to do? You say, infrastructure, beautification, this, that, and the other. And everybody that knows me says, oh, yeah, Dave will get that done. And everybody that doesn't says, oh, that's impossible. Those are campaign promises. But for once, I get to sit down next to a guy that is a doer and not a talker. And, we talked a little bit about that at lunch. But, to go out and actually do things and understand how corporate world works and understand basically what's driving the train, right? So,
I really, that means a lot. Yeah, I didn't know if we're going to bring that up, but, that's where I think you and I see eye to eye. There is a huge difference between people that say they're going to do something and the ones that will actually deliver.
Sure.
And I say it respectfully, but I think a lot of people are, they talk a lot, but they don't deliver, and that's what everyone's fear is. They're in this particular campaign, right? And that's the one thing I've seen about you is you've done it. Which kind of leads into, the question. Let's talk a little bit about your background, who you are, how you got here,
Sure.
That fun stuff. And, I want to talk about your, building unbelievable large weapons for the military.
Sure.
That's close to my heart, man. I love guns and weapons.
Sure. So I grew up in Carlsbad, California. I am the son of an engineer. My dad, when he passed away just from our patent searches on surface level through Google, he had 260 something patents. When I was 14, I started machining in the back of his shop. There was 2 or 3 machinists there when I first got hired in there. By the time I graduated high school, I was the only one there. So running manual lathes, mills, surface grinders, all sorts of things like that. Is basically what I spent my youth doing, and then everybody turns 18 or whatever, and F you, Dad, you got to have your little rebellious moment.
Sure.
And so I wanted to be one of the better machinists in the world. So I left and I went up to Ontario, California at the time, which was a plastic injection mold making capital of the world, other than China. But, in America, that's where where the stuff is. And injection mold makers are the best machinists in the world because they have to be able to make anything and then make it backwards. Right.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
And, I did that for 3 or 4 years. And I was back then, this is, I'm old, right? So this is before the internet and before all that. If you wanted a pay raise back then, you'd go to the boss and you say, hey, I think I'm worth more. And if they didn't agree with you, you basically quit and you go to the shop down the street, right? So that's the way that kind of industry worked back then. And you would look to see what shops were hiring in the newspaper. And back then, a top mold maker, and by a top mold maker, I mean, that guy's, he's got a CNC going, he's running an EDM machines going at the same time, and he's running a manual mill over here, like $60,000 for the tools in his rollaway. They were making about 26, 27 bucks an hour. And I picked up a newspaper and I saw an ad in there for city bus driver, $40 an hour with benefits. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. So I looked around and I said, who out of everybody my age is making the most money? And it was a guy named by the name of Jay Densmore. And he was out selling stereolithography, which for layman's terms, for people, it's basically 3D printing today, right? And back then, if you had to prototype something like a pen cap, it would be, $300. And it was all based on size, like this water bottle. To prototype that would have been about $1,800 to $2,000. Wow! Back then, out of stereolithography. That's a lot. Yeah. Well, now my kid's 3D printer at home. He print that thing for free.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But that's how you verify designs and whatnot before you actually made the injection molds. Because if you have to change the molds, it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So Jay was selling SLA or stereolithography. So I went over to a company called Sycon, and I happened to have a lot of familiarity with SLA, growing up in the back of an engineering firm. Yeah. So I became a sales rep for them, and I'm not going to lie, we murdered it because sales guys are sales guys. Yeah. But being a machinist, I could sit down with engineers and say, reprints with them. And, a lot of these engineers nowadays, especially when 3D printing first came out, they were designing things that you could print, but you couldn't make. Yeah. They'd have big giant undercuts in the molds and things like that. And I'd say, well, if you just ditch that, your tooling costs are going to go down in half. So all the engineers loved me. And it was really one of life's great experiences. I told you at lunch, we talked about always answering the phone. And I was staying late one day and I answered the phone and I got a call from ITAL Design, which was a concept car company. And they did a lot of concept cars for like Mitsubishi and Nissan and all that. And just seeing how it works behind the scenes, but also from then entertaining some of the VPs for like Mitsubishi at hockey games or, Honda, they were the baseball guys that we had skyboxes everywhere. Yep. And getting to hang out with people of that caliber was really, really cool, especially when you're, mid-20s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So after that, my family, I have a mentally ill brother, and he started getting kind of violent. My mom basically asked me to come back to Carlsbad to help him out with it. And she was actually concerned my dad was going to shoot him at one point.
Oh, geez.
And so I went back to Carlsbad, and I fired up the machine shop again and met a guy named Steve from Lee Aerosystems. They're still in business today. And he called me about 6 o'clock at night, and he goes, hey, Dave, you got machines? I said, yeah. And he goes, can you make this? I said, sure, we can make that. He goes, can you make it by tomorrow morning? I said, okay. And the magic words, I don't care what it costs, out of zero. So I said, no problem, buddy. So I spent all night machining this thing and drop it off at his house. And a couple weeks later, it happens again. A couple weeks later, it happens again. And so finally I said, hey, Steve, why don't I come over there and we'll just take a look at what's going on here. And so I started quoting their entire prototype deals, So it ended up where they'd send me all the work. I'd sub it out to several different CNC shops, do what I could do manually. Yeah. But we brought a level of professionalism to it that they hadn't experienced before, mainly being, quality control reports, material certs, all sorts of
timelines.
Timelines, so that we were actually delivering on time. And that was a very, very profitable venture for a lot of years.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So then we get to 2010-ish, mid-2010. I always learned what my future was holding by watching the news. So doing these prototypes, those were all weapons of tomorrow, right? So we quoted everything, or built everything, actually. If you Google long shot and torpedo, you'll see a backpack that straps on a torpedo. Mm-hmm. And they'll drop it out of a bomber and the wings deploy, and now they can cruise it, And we did guided artillery, which doubled the range of the bullets. You could fly them through a window now. We did surveillance blimps. We did some of the stuff I can't even talk about today, believe it or not. But we did all kinds of cool projects. I actually quoted my little shop. I went up against General Atomic, quoting Egypt's drone programs, and I was going to win. And if that project went through, just even on the minimum schedules,
you wouldn't be here today.
I would have stood to make about $30 million a year in my mid-20s. And I was right there, man. And all the lights were green. And then I was watching the news and, Egypt got overthrown today. Huh?
Yeah. So that doesn't look good for me.
No. So I'm watching the news in 2010, and Obama gave the speech about downsizing the military budget by $489 billion to be exact. when they do that, they don't fire the existing troops. What they do is they take all your future weapons. If they have so many bombers or stealth fighters on order, they just scale all that way back, right?
Yeah.
And so when they did that, me being in that industry, your client list is like two people long, right?
Yeah, totally.
And so we hung out for about a year. I'm paying $8,000-$10,000 a month, just in rent, and then you have electricity, employees, and all the stuff. You know what it is.
Yeah.
And so I told my wife, I said, we got to get out of here, man. This is going to sink us. And so my parents had built a house in Parker, Arizona in the Mojave Keys in 1976. It's actually where I took my first steps. And I said, Stace, let's just go out there for a minute and catch a breath so we could stop the expenditures. And I'd had a brand new baby, no job.
Yeah.
I had some, we had money, but it was depleting quickly.
Nothing coming in, it's all going out. Yeah.
So we go and we hang out down in Parker.
Been there a few times.
Yeah, we got down there and we're there for a month. My wife says, I can't live here. And I said, no problem. So I get to talking to Dave Plunkett, and I'm looking for a place where I could put my machines and everything, right? Get them out of California. And he goes, why don't you go up to Havasu and check it out? They got those big RV garages up there. So we went up in 2011. I moved here and I put my machines in my garage. And
was your wife for it at that time?
She was, but we were used to SoCal, you want to go find a job. Yeah, you want to go find a job. It's not hard to find a job, and because I had so much baggage, all this stuff is huge and it requires huge power and all this stuff, and I said, we got to go somewhere that's cheaper. So we came out here and I went and I took a tour of Sterilite, and I quickly found out there's no industry in this town, and there was nothing for a guy like me. And so I started literally machining parts in my garage, stuff that I would charge, $10,000 for the aerospace stuff. I was doing it for like $800.
Oh my gosh.
Just to make the mortgage every month, know. But I quickly realized, I had my personal website, which was River Days Place. And this is in the middle of recession, man. Like, I don't know if you know, but Mojave County was the third poorest county in the nation in 2011.
It got smashed, yeah.
And so the boat builders, man, like everybody's just sitting there dying. And I said, look, I went to all the boat builders. And I said, look, I will go. We'll photo the boats. We'll test the boats. We'll do write-ups. You just got to pay me X amount a month, right? Which was really little money, like $300-$400, $300, right? Yeah. And it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you start adding up 40 of them, now you have income again, right? Yeah. And so I am proud to say that every single manufacturer that advertised with me during the recession survived.
That's really cool.
And every single one that didn't.
Yeah. That's rough. Well, you had a good reputation even then. I remember, me coming out here back in the day. I've been coming out here for 35 years.
Sure.
And you've been out here the whole time, man.
Yeah, down in Parker mostly, but we used to go out to Havasu and all that. You know, I used to write for Hot Boat magazine. I had my own personal column in it, and I ran Hot Boat, the website for them, and all that stuff.
So your roots are here. Yeah, it makes it your heart's here.
Oh yeah,
that's really.
It's always been my favorite place on earth.
Yeah, good for you. All right, well let's get into how you kind of got into Havasu where you are today. And real quick, just to kind of a disclosure for our audience, I shot and videoed with Cal yesterday. Sure. The main objective for this video and for this podcast is just to kind of, again, let everyone kind of hear your world. And I love the fact you just shared your kind of backstory. And then I just want everyone to know too, is that this is set up in a manner where there's no biased opinion. There's not me coming saying, hey, Dave's better than Cal or Cal's better than Dave. It's just, I want our audience to get to know each and every person for who they are and what their goals are for the city, right? Period. End of story.
Sure.
So with that said, let's go into like where you are today. What do you have working on separate than, running for mayor, and I'm going to start asking you some questions about, where you think the biggest deficiencies are. What are the real issues? And I want to open up that in essence, Mike, to just go deep as we can go, because I have my concerns. I obviously have been knee deep in development here. There is massive deficiencies. I'm not going to go push too hard, but there are things that I like and don't like. And there's things that I think that can completely change the future outlook of Lake Havasu just by a simple, few adjustments. But with that said, let's talk a little bit about where you are today. What do you got going on?
Well, just to say one thing real quick, I like what you said there, what the future of Havasu is. And the reality of it is it's been a very contentious campaign so far. There's been a lot of, it's almost like Trump versus Biden. I mean, people are losing their minds, right? Mm-hmm. But we are literally sitting on the biggest opportunity in Southwest United States.
Dude, you and I are going to go into a rabbit hole after that. It's like the data supports it too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it's just not, it's almost like they're pushing it away. Right. And it's not just on development, and it's It's on every single
Everything.
front, and it just does not make sense to me. So.
You and I were talking. There's a point in time where you know something well, and then there's no logic behind decision making, and you just kind of go a little fucking nuts. You know, you're like, what the hell is like? Are you guys not understanding the positive impact? There's no negativity at all a part of this play. Everything is positive for everybody involved, and you guys are just saying no or not allowing it to happen or whatever the case may be. It's incredible.
Well, I
It's
don't think it's intentional.
I don't either.
I just think a lot of them are not familiar with that with that level, I guess you would say, right? And, fortunately, I spent a lot of my youth with a lot of big power players, entertaining the VBs of Honda and Mitsubishi and, some of these people, you get used to dealing with people on that scale where they can say something and have a dramatic outcome happen just a few years later. So you're very, very conscious of what you're talking about and what you're doing.
Right.
And you have to be comfortable with that level of person, right? And so not everybody is, so.
I think, for me, of course, I'm going to be, everyone has their own agenda, right?
Sure.
My agenda, just to be completely transparent here, is I want to leave some wealth to my kids. I want to leave my business to my children. I'm really worried about where the world's going. I constantly watch the news. I've written a book on kind of where the world was going to go. And I was right, 6 years ago. And this was right when the pandemic, hit and all that money was pumped in. I call it synthetic capital. When that synthetic money was pumped in, that stimulus package and the PPP loans and all that, I saw it coming. I launched a fund to maintain, to hedge against that and create cash flow because I was thinking 2008 all over again, right?
Sure.
I think we all did. And I have made massive sacrifices for my family to be out here. I pretty much pushed my entire career into this location, but it's because I believe in it and I see the data. And that's where the wealth
every entrepreneur, people don't realize that, right? Like the normal day-to-day 9 to 5, your middle class, they don't understand what it takes to jump off the cliff and start a business. When you start a business,
it's against human nature.
Oh my God, you almost have to be a little bit narcissistic to know that. What do they say? Entrepreneurs, they jump off the cliff and they build the plane on the way down.
Totally.
Right?
Yep. Fake it to make it, the whole thing, man.
And if you don't finish the plane, splat, because there is no parachute,
But the biggest risk are the biggest rewards.
That's correct. And that's where capital comes from.
Yep. It's crazy. We're just going to go right into this. Screw it. I want to talk about this. The private equity play, you and I were talking about some of the big money with check writers that are out here.
Sure.
The reason why they want to come here and invest here is because they love the place.
Yeah.
They're not doing, they could probably make more money other places.
Oh, absolutely.
One of the stories you shared with me at lunch was that, some of your buddies that have some money, we're thinking about just trying to build something that would be good for the city and line a street with, palm trees. Like, why is that such a bad thing? Why would we say no to that? It's stuff like that. It's things, it's like, I agree. And I know that's a dumbed down version, but that is that dumb to say no to, in essence. Now that there's other reason, I'm sure, whatever. But when you kind of, that compounds into other components that I've witnessed and experienced, and as much as I do love a lot of the people internally and that have helped me in many ways, I just think that there should be some sort of reform. There's got to be an adjustment because the way it's not working, and like guys like me are getting tired, and we don't want to keep playing here.
There's some basic problems right now. For example, if you're employed by the city, they just have an annual pay review and you get a raise no matter what. And it's not performance based. And I understand coming from, private to the municipality that in private, if you have people that are just sitting there collecting paychecks, they're never getting a raise or even
I'm an employer. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I have never had one good employee that was just, chasing a paycheck.
Yeah.
They were chasing the clock too.
Correct. So I think in terms of reform, if you want to see some massive changes here, we have to look at who's doing a good job and benefit them. And if you're not doing a good job, it's not within the mayoral powers to fire people, but it is certainly within my powers and powers of council to lean on the city manager who can then make those kind of decisions, right? And that gets into a whole new deal of like what's going on. And actually our system of government out here, the mayor is technically a ceremonial position. It's not a position of power. And that changed under Mark Nixon. He turned it into a full-time job and way overstepped the bounds of what you're supposed to do. And that continues to this day. And Charlie Cassens was a city manager back then. And Charlie Cassens put in a policy that council is not to talk to staff. And I was actually at a meeting a little while ago, and I'm not going to name names, but I will say 2 or 3 of our city council members were there, and they said, we're not allowed to talk to the staff. And I started laughing. And they said, what are you laughing about? I says, in what planet do you live on that you are not allowed to talk to the people that work for you? I said, I would laugh at them and just go talk to them anyways. What are they going to do? They can't fire you.
Well, yeah, it's the one in the influence, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, currently, our city manager, he's a very alpha individual, and he's kind of running through everybody like a hot knife through butter. And I got a great story about that. That's a little humiliating for him, but I got a great story about that if you want to hear it.
It's up to you.
So you watch all these city council guys, and they're nice people. Don't get me wrong, but I scheduled a meeting with the police chief or the this or the that, and they went and told me how it works. I'm not interested in how it works because it's not working, right? And so I didn't schedule meetings with any of them. I said, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to change things, right? And so eventually, city manager's office calls me and says, hey, they want to sit down with you. I said, okay. So I go to his office. He goes, what do you want to talk about? And I said, you called me. I don't want to talk about anything. So we sat there, and then we had a nice 30, 45-minute conversation, but you already know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And anyhow, at the very end of it, I says, you get me my $20 million for roads? He goes, $20 million? I don't think so. And I said, you're a smart guy, buddy. You got a couple months to figure it out. 2 weeks later, he calls me. Hey, let's go have a beer somewhere. And I says, I don't want to be seen with you, and you don't want to be seen with me. So why don't you come over to my house? Yeah. He came over to the house. I says, let me guess. You found my money? And he says, if it's the will of the council, we have your money. I said, it's not hard to figure out.
Yeah.
You just got to lay down the law a little bit, right? And since then, I've had several meetings with him. It turns out he's a really sharp guy, and I really like him a lot. But you kind of have to give him more direction, And I actually asked him that because when he said that, is it the will of the council and the mayor? I said, what's the current will? I don't know. Part of being in charge is you got to be a leader. So if you direct that guy, he'll do what needs to be done.
And that's kind of that kind of parallels into the conversation we had earlier was, you hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, is you said, look, you'd never built a high rise before, but if someone tasked you to build a high rise, would you be able to figure it out? And I'm like, absolutely, I would. Yeah, absolutely. I have resources and people and right the whole 9 yards that I can call upon and put it together. You bet.
So to clarify that, we were talking before this, and, the biggest thing for people in this election is he has no political experience, right? And so what I suggested to Ryan here is, well, you never built a high rise, right? Or in another example, we were talking about a business and what they could or couldn't do, and we found the problem to be management. And I said, well, Ryan, you've never done that industry, but you yourself could go in there and fix that business. You don't need experience to know how to do things. You need balls and intelligence.
You need common sense and some sort of, you just kind of have to have some sort of business acumen. If you run successful businesses, they're all the same. The LLC filings are the same, opening up the same CPA and tax attorneys and management. And
budgets are budgets, man. Dude. They're not.
So, and then managing people is all the same, helping your employees, position themselves for retirement is all the same. How to create culture is all the same.
Correct.
How to hire is all the same. Like it's all the same. Yeah. It's just maybe the end-to-end, like the little, let's say the little details about a business. You can learn that. That's easy.
Well, it's all the same game. It's just slightly different rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? When you come to a municipality, a lot of things are governed by the state, right? Like I would love to have a $303 million budget and that airport and a checkbook and say, we're building the hangars.
Mm-hmm.
But there's laws against it. You can't spend more than X, Y, Z. I think it's $100,000 before you have to send it out to a public bid, right? For various projects. So you just learn the rules of that game and then you manage it correctly, right? Yeah. So we were talking earlier and I mentioned to you, right? I says, you don't build pools, but I'm sure you've built a pool in your developments before. And you said, yeah. I says, what does a $4 million pool look like to you?
I said something you build in Vegas.
It's like Caesars, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why is our Olympic pool being quoted at $4 million? And that doesn't even include a building to put the pool equipment in. Mm-hmm. That's another like several $100,000. And I just look at that and I say, currently you look at city council, you look at the mayor, they drop these things in front of them and it's yes or no. But nobody's asking why. Me, I would say, why does this cost $4 million? Because unless this thing is something out of Vegas, it shouldn't cost $4 million. And when they say, well, we can't use these businesses because they don't have an engineer. Really? We couldn't just hire an interim engineer to get the engineering done? The city could do that, and then you could use whatever pool company you want. But nobody's, oh no, we got to use this guy. Well, it turns out the guy they picked didn't have an engineer either.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing is, like you said, it's not working. And you just have to start asking why and really drilling into the issues of what about this cost $4 million? Because I can't wrap my head around this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wrap my head around the courthouse. $12.8 million. They'll claim it's 10. But then when you start looking into it, look at the supplies. Really, you need $2 million worth of paper and pencil? No. It's they stuck it in there that way, right? And that's just looking at a budget and saying, okay, we know what you did here. Mm-hmm. It's over $12 million. Is there anything about that building that's $12 million?
Not if I'm having a hard time.
Even with the bulletproof this and bulletproof that, 12 million? I mean, what are we launching? Satellites here?
I built some pretty large stuff. I'll tell you right now, I don't see 12 million in that thing.
No. But do you know what our IT budget is for Lake Havasu?
I can only imagine.
I think it's like $12 million annually.
For an IT budget?
Yes.
I don't even know how that's even possible. And I deal with high-level compliance, and my IT's nowhere. Yeah.
So everybody keeps saying, Dave, where are you going to get all the money to do all this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to line out of the budgets and find out where we're launching space shuttles out of here for $12 million. Because I understand, dude. And I understand, like, we have a control room that most people haven't seen. I've seen pictures of it. I've never been in it. I actually look forward to taking my kids through it after we win. But, there's some really cool stuff in Lake Havasu, especially for emergencies. But $12 million? No.
Yeah.
No. $4 million for a pool? I mean, on a private side.
What did that park cost?
The Commons?
Yeah.
I call it the Sheehy Park. At the Commons, it's $4.7 million and going.
Oh my gosh, $4 million. Yeah, I heard it was $4.5 million at one point. Yeah. And the bathrooms don't work, do they? I heard
the bathrooms are in, but they're locked. It's a public park in the middle of downtown, and they say this thing is so far. Actually, Lake Havasu Republicans just posted all the news articles from 2019 through like 23, right? And in 2019, it was supposed to have like an 85-foot screen and the stage, and it was really, really cool, right?
Yeah.
And then it changed to this, and then it was like, oh, we're gonna have a stage over here and keep it open grass. And then somewhere down the line, we hung a hard left, and we got what we got. Yeah. That thing looks like it belongs in Portland to me because it doesn't shade anything. It doesn't do anything. My mom's 83 and she's got a touch of dementia. And every time I drive her by that thing, she looks at it, and because she's got dementia, she goes, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen." It's just. Wow.
Yeah, but that is, there is, we laugh about it, but there's seriousness to that, because, when you add it all up, right, it's this problem, and you're allocating funds for this pool, or you're allocating funds for that, and you look at the millions of dollars that are being wasted, that could have been allocated to something that really would actually, in my opinion, affect the public a whole lot better, And I know, and I think that's
with regard to that park, just before I let you go, I happen to notice that they finally put in the giant electrical box. They put it right where the stage was supposed to go.
Mm.
So it's literally bang, bang, bang. If you could do something wrong, it's like they're intentionally doing it at this point. If you could flip a coin and it always came up wrong, that's what's happening.
So why is everything so ass backwards?
I don't know.
I don't understand. Well, remember, in all fairness, so everybody knows that I'm not the bias guy. I've only lived here going on like 3 years. I've been coming out here for 35 years, as I mentioned before. But I don't know, I'm a hermit, man. I literally just go to work and then I go home, right? I go to lunch, and I was going to lunch every day at, Northside Grill, because I was building out north, and so and then I would go home, man, and I would be home at like 9:00 at night. I'm kind of aware. And then I was gone 50% of my time. So I never really got pulled into anything else. But what's happened recently is I'm now being forced to really pay attention just because of the level of business that we're doing here. And it's starting to open up the eyes. And I'm like, I have resources and I have an ability. If people are willing to listen to some of my ideas, maybe it can be implemented. And that's the point, Now, when I mentioned in the last, in the public hearing, there may be a way to help some of that infrastructure by, and then we ran into Cameron, and I was like, this is what, this may be able to do, and I think those are the things that, But I just want people to consider it because I don't come from here. I come from, I've done $3 billion in transactions. I've overseen a lot of construction development. We have in-house fund control. What that means is that
let me ask you some questions real quick.
Sure.
You've done $3 billion in transactions. You're doing business in Tennessee right now and here, right? And you've done transactions all over the place.
Yep.
How friendly is the city of Lake Havasu to work with?
Oh boy, all my projects are approved, so I can say it now, right? No, I'm just kidding. Everybody individually, I genuinely like but I think
I'm not looking for a political answer.
I know. Okay, fair enough. I'm very disappointed, and it's because my disappointment is only because I've had other experience with other developments in other cities that are much larger, much more complicated than the ones that I have now. I work with developers all over the country. Backstory, my uncle was one of the presidents of Standard Pacific, left there, went to Holland Partners. He went to Western National. He built 33,000 apartment doors for Irvine Company. When I was working for a civil engineering firm that was doing, D.R. Horton, Pulte Homes, Beazer. I have an extensive background in development, capital funding and raising. I've managed a $100 million debt fund. I was funding loans for developers all over the country, high-end homes in Beverly Hills and Bel Air. We went through, we're talking, side of mountains type development, right?
Sure.
In Laguna Beach.
In difficult areas to do business.
Very difficult, very strict, sure. Very difficult things. And I was sharing one example for you at the city of San Antonio. If you do a pre-app, right? Or let's say we have to, we had to move one of our buildings on our apartments, right? Mind you, this is a 3-story product. We had to move one of our buildings. When we had to resubmit to move that building, there was a $2,600 expedite fee for review. It was
sure.
like a 72-hour review. Now, all we had to do is pay them that, or we go back to a whole possible 90-day turnaround. The fact that we just had to pay that review, we asked, what's the review fee go? And they were like, look, we're just paying people overtime to be able to do the review. Well, why aren't we doing that here?
So that's good for the people that's good for the people that are getting overtime.
Right.
It's good for you, the developer, because it's done in
quicker,
72
and our cost
hours.
of capital. Yeah.
What happens to your development if you got to sit there and wait 90 days?
Oh, so
how much money does that cost?
So we'll go into the weeds. Look, every time I raise capital for one of my projects, the clock starts when the capital gets deployed.
That's correct.
So you're looking at a pref, whatever that structure is. When I have, millions of dollars under management, that burn rate is incredible. And every time the city goes, oh, well, we're not sure about this, or we're not sure about this. And I personally think they're not taking this very serious. I look at it and go, hey, you guys have no idea. When you tell me it's going to take 6 weeks or 3 weeks or 2 weeks and it takes 6 months, it's burning holes into my pocket mostly because I don't take it out of my client's pocket. It comes out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And so in essence, I kind of get my teeth come out a little bit going you're fucking with my family now. So it makes me look at it. And just to be candid with you, my entire team pulled together and said, we don't ever want to do business out here again. So it's getting to that point. It's too risky at that. I love this town. We're bringing millions and millions in. Why can't we be hundreds of, yeah, I'm trying to be humble.
Don't sell yourself short there.
Yeah, it's hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's private because institutional capital will not do this. We had an LOI with a line of credit from JP Morgan for $87 million. They will not allow us to pull that line out here unless we have the project well close to fund it. We're got to get sticks in the air to get some capital from JP Morgan, or if we're doing a build to suit for a big retail center, something of that nature. But dude, it's so
without
difficult
getting too far into the weeds here. The point that I was trying to make: you love this town.
Oh, I love this town.
You live this town.
Mm-hmm.
You are trying to improve the town,
mm-hmm.
and there's resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I don't understand when someone's bringing in that type of movement.
Yeah.
And I hear nothing but positive. They love what we're doing, and they've said it, publicly, that they love what we're doing. Why is it that we're not being treated accordingly?
Any other city in America, one of my really good friends is the single largest independent home builder in Arizona. He builds a lot of homes, needless to say,
I'm
right?
Sure.
Well, he built, probably 10 specs here just over the years, and he's building houses for himself. And he looked at me one day and he goes, Dave, I have done entire communities, and it was easier to do than to build a house in Lake Havasu.
We just learned through Paradigm Storage, they learned, and this is from my GC and from my third parties, that the city has never phased a project in like the way they did. They just CO buildings, and that's like a full, complete CO. Paradigm Storage has multiple buildings and CO in each building, but the whole project's not CO, right? You just see, apparently they've never done something like that before. which is great because they cut their teeth and learned it. But like, bro, like that's a big problem. And the amount of shit we had to deal with because they were learning.
So this is what we goes full circle to. I think a lot of these people are really nice people, but I don't think they have dealt with high level things like this before. And you have to be comfortable in a room with high level people.
Well, and it's facts there, and it shows because they are outsourcing the majority of our stuff now for a third party review out of Phoenix or what have you, which is fine. And we're okay in some cases, but that just pushes back everything. Cause what happens is they push it out. First of all, they review it. They identify they don't know it well enough. Right. So how long did that take? Then they go, okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and offload this out and to a third party, which now they get to wipe their hands on turn times. They go, well, it's not our problem if it takes forever for it to come back. So they just pawn that off.
That's the problem. There's your first problem, right? They don't care about time because it's not their money. They don't care about money because it's not their money, right? I care about money. I'm a private guy, entrepreneur. And if you tell me a pool costs $4 million, I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to say why.
Yeah.
Why does it cost $4 million? Why don't we get out our little budget here and light item that? Because I want somebody to tell me where the $4 million comes from, especially when that doesn't even house the pool equipment.
Well, and I know there's tons of contractors that would come in and just look at that and be like, no way. How many contractors would do that for free?
Well, we couldn't use one of our local companies, right? We couldn't use Mojave Pools because they didn't have an in-house engineer, and they gave it Concord, who also didn't have an in-house engineer. But why couldn't the city say, we'll bring in an engineer to engineer the thing? That's well under $100,000. It's like, what, 20 grand maybe, depending on what you're doing there. But 20 to 50, let's call it. Okay. We could bring that in, get the engineering done, and then sub it to one of our own local companies. Why?
I think the only thing I can think of is from a liability side. But the engineer has its own liability.
Yes.
Right. So they're really
they're subbed in. Yeah. That's not on the city. That's the engineering firm. Whoever you hire is still liable for that.
Well, honestly, this conversation's so low level. Just to talk about a fucking pool, bro. Like, to be real, to talk about engineering on a pool, like, it's like, dude, this is so low level, to be honest. And then a $4 million pool, like, I get you. I'm with you. But there's so many different ways to skin the cat.
The reason why I wanted to have that conversation is because it's low level. Yeah. We don't need to get into roads and infrastructure and asphalt and lifetimes and the fact that we only budgeted $2 million for roads in 2027, which is insanity. The low-level conversation that I like is it's relatable to everybody.
Yeah, and
everybody's been in a pool. Everybody knows that if you have $1 million backyard, you got a resort. I'd like to know how a lap pool comes in at $4 million because that is insane.
Yeah,
and it's relatable. Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're powerful, whether you're homeless, you say $4 million pool, they're going to say why, and that encompasses.
Yeah, it connects to everything. Yeah, for sure. And it makes it just kind of, if you dumb it down to that, then it's like, what else?
So, well, that's what I'm saying. Right. So, then we get into the infrastructure and the water mains, and then you get into, how are you going to fix all of this stuff all the way up to air service, right? Yeah. But when you ask a basic question and nobody can give you an answer, you got a problem.
Let me ask you some of these questions too that I asked Cal yesterday, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Tourism. Let's talk about tourism revenue, kind of where you're seeing the world with tourism, what's coming in right now, where's some of that money being allocated, if obviously it's going towards the budget, right? But what, let's talk about, and I love, you would know, I think, more than anybody else, because you run River Dave, and you obviously have, Cat Fest, and, and what's it called? The other one, the big one.
Desert
Storm. I can never think of the word, man. But anyway, so you got them all back. You kind of control all that, which is where
I don't control Desert Storm, to be clear, but I did help build Desert Storm.
But you did Cat Fest. I'm sorry. So you see all these bodies coming in because you're knee deep in that type of community, man. Talk a little bit about tourism out here.
Okay, so we have a company called Go Lake Havasu. It's a 501 basically, and what we do currently is we have a 1% food and beverage tax and a bed tax, right? That brings in $4.2 million. 2.1 of that goes to the general fund under the guise of paying police officers overtime for events and holiday weekends. The other 2.1 is divided. 1.6 goes to Go Lake Havasu. 500,000 goes to the PED, the Partner in Economic Development, which I'll get to them in a minute. So $1.6 million goes to Go Lake Havasu. This is going to go right back to that $4 million pool. But we looked it up. Right. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and says, what does Go Lake Havasu do? I mean, they got a website. It's got a calendar. It's pretty cool. They do run our visitor center, which is very nice. Right. Their total budget's actually $1.8 million. The visitor center brings in about $200K a year in clothing sales and whatnot. And in their budget, it's listed as private, almost like donations, but that's where that money comes from, right? So I start looking at Lake Havasu, and I'm looking at it, and it's, static picture of a kid in an open bow of a Bayliner, and it says, "Go for it." And I'm like, huh, all right. And in Facebook, you can actually look up and see what your competitors are doing for paid ads and all this stuff. So I just looked up every one of their ads, and I looked up Bullhead. Right. And Bullhead used to have something similar, an outside tourism board, and they just brought it in house, and they got like a guy with a handy cam or whatever. And he's just like, the river's great today. Right. And if you look at the stats from Bullhead to what we're spending $1.6 million on, yikes, they're killing us. And we had a Go Lake Havasu work session at a city council. It wasn't anything but a work session, which we'll come to that later again. But I actually found a kid with a jet boat out here that's outperforming them. An iPhone and a jet boat, right? And so I start to question, well, how are these people getting paid, and how, what is all this? So I looked up their contract, and they're on a performance-based contract. Problem is nobody's overseeing the performance. There's no oversight whatsoever. And the way that they're monitoring their performance is to say, Kingman and Bullhead, their occupancy of hotels is this, and it went down to this, and ours didn't go down, so we're doing good. I am not kidding. That's literally how they do this. Now, there are other ways of doing this, right? You can do what's called contract tourism. It's literally profitable right out of the gate. You can go to these trade shows up in Vegas, and they have tour bus companies. The tour bus company says, hey, we're hitting the Grand Canyon, we're hitting Flagstaff, and we're hitting Winslow, and we want to put the London Bridge on there. We'll guarantee you 6 bus loads a week, 60 people in a bus. They stay the night. You can literally do the math on the hotel occupancy, the tax, and you can sign contracts with them and be profitable game day one, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay. I mean, it's one way of doing it. It's guaranteed. At least it's guaranteed money, so you're not just throwing money down a rat hole and not knowing where it's going. Yeah. But the reality of it is times have changed, man. We don't need a tourism board to go out and attempt to compete with River Dave's place, because I have a film crew, right? We make boating videos. You're never going to beat us at that. We don't need a tourism board to go out and try to compete with, I don't know, how many influencers are in this gym right now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The thing that changed, everybody's got a film studio, and there's hundreds of thousands on holiday. 4th of July is coming up. How many videos will be on social media saying, I'm having a great time in Lake Havasu? And do you want to know what's better than a sales pitch? A personal endorsement.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So when somebody says, I had a blast in Lake Havasu, these are the crazy things that we had fun doing in Lake Havasu, I don't care if you gave me $100 million. I can't compete with 50,000 kids with iPhones.
Social media is a reality TV show that people get addicted to. It's the FOMO, right? So people see it all through social media. It's free to market. And when you have that many people that are in essence in one spot that are loving life, it's word of mouth.
So at that point, how much money would you put towards trying to brand tourism? You're not going to compete with that.
You really don't need much at all, if anything. No, yeah. I mean, you'd probably want to just build awareness for just kind of to cater to all walks of life out here, but you wouldn't need nearly that much money. I mean, that's insane. Because honestly, even if I were to, and I'm just really thinking out loud here, and we're very strategic when it comes to marketing, as you know. I couldn't even use 1.6 million and sit down and go, I don't even know where I would put that to try to build awareness for tourism. I don't even know where could I get the numbers from for that? I don't even know how to collect the data. I mean, I'm sure if I understood their current situation and how they're doing it, but I mean, I don't even know how to collect that type of data and how it is actually really bringing people here.
It isn't. That's the first thing it isn't. So one, we don't need it, but two, one way you can bring in tourism, you mentioned Super Cat Fest West earlier. That brings in more jets than any other single event, right? And there's, 6,000 people at any given time. So probably more like 10 or 15 going through the event down at the Riviera on Friday and Saturday night. The way that deal works is different than every other poker run. I designed that to actually be able to track how much money it brings in. And so the way we do our poker run is you bring your receipts to the card turn-in, and every $100 is a playing card. Every $500 is a hand, right? Literally the first year, I get a phone call. What's the max? So what do you mean, what's the max? What's the max? I don't know. 20 grand. They're like, no, dude, we just spent like 70 grand. Well, what did you spend 70 grand on? Well, we're going to retrofit our center console with all new, 500s instead of 400. So it's like, we spent 350 grand. I'm like, dude, we're going to be counting cards till Christmas here, guys. Right. But this is how we kind of try to track it. So now we set the max at 10,000, but I usually end up with $3 or $4 million worth of receipts. And that's just from the people that bring them that are participants. Right. So the total overall taxable income on that event, I would have to guess at more like 20. Desert Storm is insane.
Oh yeah.
50,000 people going up and down that street. Every one of them's buying ice, beer, fuel,
whatever.
I mean, the economic impacts of that are insane. Here, you want to generate tourism and do it for free? The Martelli brothers are literally at war with Crit down in Parker with their off-road race. Call them and say, we're willing to work with you and we want to be on the circuit. They'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can call Greg Mansfield right now. He puts on, Thunderboats down in, Bayfair in San Diego. We can have unlimited hydros here for, I think they said 60 grand. Right? Which actually I'd run GP boats, their big blown alcohol deals are way louder and a lot cooler. Yeah. You can do that for like 15 grand, dude. You can have full blown races up here and it's cheap. And that brings people. The Martelli brothers would be free. If you added prize money to that, you'd be the number one race, right?
Yeah.
You give me $1.6 million and I tell the Martelli brothers, hey, we'll throw in 100 grand on first place. You would have every race team. You'd have the Mexican teams coming to America.
Well, I'll give you an idea. I mean, that this is like your side of the world too, just to kind of give you a little bit that's happening here and my contract will vouch for this one. Within the first 2 weeks when we opened this gym because of our cage, I had 4 huge promoters that wanted to come in and rent out my space for $40,000 a night, give me $20,000 or $30,000 in additional incentives, move all of our equipment, and do this once every quarter. And they would have a pay-per-view, full-blown fight with professional fighters throughout the entire country come here and fight. There's that much power from people that have that influence that come out here and enjoy it. They're like, if we can bring that here now. I sponsor 2 fighters right now that are like 9-0 and 11-0. I have more professional athletes sitting in this gym. And Joe will probably tell you, we from being in California, I have more professional athletes in this gym than I've ever been in any gym in Southern California. So it's impressive how much is out
it's weird,
here.
Isn't it weird?
It's
this little tiny town, it's we're in the real estate game, right? And you're reading these articles online and it's like, the best place to buy or invest, right? This is, kind of during the COVID area. And you'd see something like the Hamptons or, Nantucket, these world famous places or Houston, right? And it'll say Lake Havasu. And you're like, really? Our name's up with these guys, And then, after COVID, it was like the biggest property loss predictions is going to be, this place, Lake Havasu, right? And you're like, oh my God, really? We're on that list too, right? Yeah. But for such a small town, you're absolutely right. There's more players that come through here and there's so much opportunity. I mean, I cannot tell you, you're talking about the gym, dude. Go over to Chawbones and look around. These people that are in there, if you know who they are, you know who they are, and
it's crazy.
It's crazy the people that come through here.
And they want to see growth and they want to see things nice and clean and new. And they want resources and grocery stores and restaurants.
And I told you about my buddy, nobody knows it, but he's got like $85 million and he's like, Dave, I'll help fund a gateway down, a gateway down on the south end, and we'll put 100 palm trees down here, and we'll do all this stuff. And so many of these conversations have happened, and I said, why don't you just go do it? And well, we're waiting for you to win. And I'm like, well, that's kind of, why don't you just go do it? And, well, guys like us want to deal with guys like us, And I'm like, okay, I get it, whatever, Well, and I can't explain it. I wish they'd just do it anyways because I want what's best for the town. I don't want honestly, me winning mayor is not what's best for me.
Yeah.
This is going to cost me a bunch of money.
Well, yeah, this is, and that's what I was saying in the beginning, being able, you're basically taking shots. You're taking bullets, man. Right? Just why sign up for it almost, right? I'm sure you've done
somebody asked me that at the last Foundry meeting. They said, why would you do this? And I'll ask you, Ryan. If you've lived here 16 years, if you love the city through and through, and you had the ability to fix it, would you?
Yeah, for sure. And I have thick skin, so I can deal with it too. So yeah.
It's 2026. In 2030, I'll be asking you to run.
Well, that's part of actually, yeah. I know who's going to back me. The good thing is I think for me, that's one of the reasons why I want to do this podcast,
Sure.
not only for the community, but I want to know too. And at the end of the day, I want to be around like-minded people.
Yeah.
But it's really true. If you really understand who's driving the bus, you know the destination.
Correct.
And that, I think everyone's so worried about the unknown in their own personal life.
Everybody's so worried about, what do they call that? Analysis paralysis and all that, right? They look at something and they say, they're not able to envision a 10-year or a 15 or a 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can take a look at certain developments, like even your own development. And I'm not banging on you here, but there's 68 units. I personally feel that if you took about 6 units out of that thing, it would be a better development, right? And I think you feel the same way.
Sure,
right?
yeah, we'd be bigger units.
But in planning and zoning, they basically forced your hand to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the second part.
Mm-hmm.
During the city council meeting that I witnessed, right?
Mm-hmm.
That action item was to amend the general plan. That means it is changing the zoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're amending the zoning at that point, all bets are out the window. You don't have to have 68 units. You could say, hey, we're going to go have a meeting with planning and zoning tomorrow, and we're going to do this project because this way it would be better for the community than that way. But right now it's yes or no, yes or no. No why or we'll look into it. No why or we'll work with you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work with you to make sure that the things that we do are the best for the city, not just yes or no.
Well, and this is my concern, right? Just to be very transparent here,
Sure.
and this is being recorded, but I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest here, right? So you nailed it. But why would I feel forced to continue to keep that 68 units? It's because they said that's what they want to prove anything else besides that, right?
No, that's stupid.
But so if I'm going there for the amendment, then why do I need to keep that there? Right. So it's the same, but they're going to say no if I don't do what they want me to do. And that's really unfortunate because if you look at any of the videos, even for P&Z, they've given me a lot of support. I've had a lot of support and I want to continue I understand you got to kind of play.
But it would be a better development.
Right.
And it's not like it's affecting the thing overall. It's like 6 units just to give a little breathing room.
I believe it or not, I was actually set up to build like a really bitchin' dog park on the corner.
Yeah, dog park or maybe some additional parking, just a little bit of breathing room, And I understand as a developer, you might pencil out a few more dollars with a few more units, but legacy, just barely knowing you, I'm willing to assume you'd rather have a project that long after you're gone and dead that you're proud of than a couple extra bucks right now.
Oh, for sure.
And so legacy for the community is what should be important there.
Yeah.
And if it's somebody like, if somebody's trying to ram that down your throat, I'm going to say, Ryan, we're going to go sit down there with them tomorrow and figure out why, because this is stupid.
And that's really just, but that's all all I'm really looking for is just a logical sit down. Let's just be logical about it. Okay, you guys have your ideas of what's better, and here's my ideas of what's better, and just be honest
not.
about it.
They say, we will approve this or we won't.
Yeah.
And then it goes up there and they say yes or no. But nobody's sitting down and saying why.
Right.
And I'm going to keep hammering on that through this whole podcast because by the time, you know what? I got my change order hat on right now. My next one's going to say, the next one's going to say Havasu Airlines is what the next one's going to say. But the one after that's going to say why.
Yeah. So let's, we're going to go on tangents forever to know it, but let's wrap up the tourism. Tourism is a big deal here. Snowbridge is a big deal. The lake life's a big deal. Just kind of touch on that a little bit, please.
Okay. So if you want to get tourists to Lake Havasu, first off, we have the iconic London Bridge. Robert McCulloch had the foresight to buy that. When you go over there in the fall and in the spring when it's not so hot, you will see people from Japan and people from various parts of Asia taking pictures of it. To this day, it's a very, very large tourist draw. Secondly, we are putting 1.6 towards something that I feel is doing absolutely nothing. You could, like I said, call the Martelli brothers. Big off-road race. Have you ever been to the Parker 400 down in Parker?
I took a helicopter ride over it.
It's nuts.
Oh, yeah.
It's nuts.
Wild.
Back when they used to camp over by the airport and all it's like 30,000 people out there in RVs, right? So now our biggest problem is where do we put all the people? It's not how do we get them here. It's where do you put them here, right?
Facts.
You got a million different ways. We turned down that triathlon thing and they ran away. And I guess we're trying to get them back now because that actually went public.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Someone's pissed.
But that's a huge deal. What would air service do for tourism, Ryan? I'm asking you.
Oh man, well, you and I talked about it. I actually have a pro forma on all kinds of things when it comes to air service and it comes to expanding that airport, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. So if we had air service here, I'm not talking about landing big jets in and out of here. We like our peace and quiet. We're the desert. But if you had a turboprop that flied from here to any hub, selfishly, I like it to be Vegas because I love gambling, right? But realistically, if we flew out of either John Wayne or Ontario, how many people come to Lake Havasu from the Riverside or that area, Orange County, Riverside? What is it, like 50, 60%?
Probably more. Yeah, I'd say probably even more. Yeah.
So do you think
LA, San Diego, Riverside County, insane.
They would jump on a puddle jumper, be here in 45 minutes and have a car stashed at the airport. We tried airline. Everybody's going to say, well, we tried it twice before. That's not true. We tried it 3 times before. Mm-hmm. The first time was remarkably successful. That was done by Robert McCullough. Mm-hmm. The second time they did it, it was not successful. The third time was not that long ago. I lived here and nobody even knew about it until it was done. You know, like I didn't know you could fly out of here or I would have,
the way that I look at it is like, Vegas, like I'm at the point where I'm like, oh, dude, I don't really want to go to Vegas anymore. Right. Yeah. But the Vegas was like the spot. You're going to go eat, shop, whatever. Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
I still love it, but I'm not like, I'm jumping in a car and go. But the reason why people don't come here as much, which I have looked at how much revenue you would typically make more if you were able to have those type of flights in and out.
Sure.
You'd have weekenders come out here way more often. This place would swell up all the time. You'd have a lot more tax revenue just because it's easier to get to.
That's correct.
This is when you leave, and this is funny because anybody who's listening to this that hasn't been to Havasu, because our following is pretty big, but when you get here, you could feel there's a reason why this place is special.
It's special.
The minute you get here, you decompress. And so people that are in the rat race in California and other places, they're going to want to come out here. If they can just come out here for $500 round trip or even $1,000 round trip, they're on it, and that's the whole point. So you're going to have more people come in on a weekly basis. And I would almost put money on it. It's a 25-30% increase in revenue or in tourism for sure.
Where do you get the money for that? What about the 1.6 for Go Lake Havasu?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. We have another 500 from the PED too. Partner in Economic Development. Do you know that guy's actually on record in a newspaper from 2015 saying the partner in economic development should not bring new business to Lake Havasu, but should support local business through organic growth?
How do you
Wild.
Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. That means you don't do anything and you take credit for everything. The reality of it is if you have air service here, if you're going to start talking about bringing industry here, and I call you and you're in Tennessee and you're the CEO of XYZ Fabrication, right? And I say, I want you to come to Havasu. And you can say, okay, how do I get there? That conversation's over as soon as we say 3-hour drive. Mm-hmm. You bring in air service here. I say, Ryan, you're going to come to Lake Havasu. We're going to buy your ticket. You're going to come in here. We're going to put you up in the hotel. We're going to wine you, dine you, show you the land, show you this, show you that, show you what we have for workforce, what we have for living ability, all this stuff. And you fly in, you're good. We have a healthcare problem here.
So we'll step onto that conversation.
Doctors, well, I should say spouses. I'm learning how to be more political nowadays because I can't say doctors and wives because there's a lot of female doctors. They like to shop and they like to travel. Mm-hmm. Do you think we would have a higher likelihood of retaining talent here if we had air service?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So what's the downside?
There really is none.
There is none, right? The only thing that happened before why this air service stopped, it was federally funded. What if we city funded it through some of these wasted monies? Well, that is still generating tourism.
Well, dude, you can even go one step further and allow the private sector to come in and build it and run their own revenue stream off of it and partner with the city.
Keyword being partner. Right now, we talked just a little bit about that because the hangar situation out there is dire. And I know that, typically the way cities work is, they give them the land and they get this little tiny nut off the side of the rent of the hangar. Me personally, I would rather see the city partner with somebody and whack up that rent because that's real money.
Oh yeah. Well, when you really, and there needs to be that sophisticated approach when you have the deficiencies in the budget that you guys have.
I don't think we have a deficiency in the budget.
You just think it's allocations.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, our budget was $130 million.
Yeah,
now it's 303, and somehow we have no money The problem's the spending and where it's being spent. The problem's not, we have plenty of money. We just need to really throttle back on $4 million pools.
You know, and that,
or $12 million courthouses, or $4.7 million parks. And, you can go down a list here, or $1.4 million on a stoplight. How much is your stoplight going to cost you?
I think we budgeted $650.
$650. But when we buy a stoplight, it's $1.4 million.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, let's line item some budgets here.
It's
guys.
wild. Yeah. So, and that's why we're going in more of a private way. We'll build it, we'll build it. The city takes on the liability, but we'll build it, Yeah, it's easier that way.
Yeah, well, I don't care. If
it's smarter for the city to do it too, because
if I don't have to spend $1.4 million and I can get it for $6 million, I'm going to do it all day long. Right?
Of course. Yeah. And
same thing with my $4 million pool that I could probably get for $1 million.
And guys like us, we're going to be penny pinching every edge,
Absolutely.
We have to, and that's where it's like, some of the kind of things that we want is just allow the city to kind of allow us to kind of push forward when you have projects that size. Anyway, so
relationships work a lot better when they're symbiotic.
And that's the one thing about me. I'm so easygoing, man. When we had that hearing, I'm just like, okay, guys, just want you to know I've already been ahead of this. Just we can do what you got to do, but we're easygoing. Just say yes, and we'll get out of your way.
Sure.
Just that's all we need. But anyway, so all right, let's move over to since we kind of talked about the airport. Let's stay on that one now. So, here's my experience, and we'll laugh about it a little bit, and I'm sure hopefully I don't get cited for this. But during like some of the bigger weekends, what was happening is a lot of the R44s are like, just let's say, anybody who's got, like a Bell or, what have you. A lot of those helicopters, they just don't have a place to park, at the airport. So they were calling me to go land at Paradigm Storage, and
as long as it's outside of city limits, we have an ordinance on that. I have to pull a permit every year for Super Cat Fest because we're the only event that lands helicopters in the event.
Yeah, well, we're not doing it anymore because I found out like apparently it's frowned upon, and I want to keep my relationships tight. But they would land, at Paradigm Storage, and they would actually have cover with air conditioned units, so they're keeping their stuff in good shape. And if I had,
it's out in county though, isn't it?
No, I'm in city. I'm in the city limits, so I didn't know that. So they're like, as long as it's private land and you say yes, you can, right? So
no, there's actually
we found that out. Yeah, we found that out. You can't land in the city without a permit. So
you can't. The permit's strangely easy to get, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So if we need to do it, we'll do it again. And if they call me and say, hey, this is I have nowhere else to park this thing, like
if it's during my event, I'll pull the permit for you.
I just have them drop it. There you go. Yeah. All right, I appreciate it. So so they we were approached by the old airport manager. We went in and we were looking at building a helicopter hangar, or actually several hangars.
Sure.
And so that kind of monetized into a conversation to build some hangars down on the south side. And then it really monetized when I started talking to the Marinellis about, 250,000 square feet of hangars on the south side. And, we were just kind of talking about where, how the FAA, and I'm not sure because this isn't verified on my end. This is what I'm being told. The FAA is actually spending money to keep this airport open.
I know that our city's spending right around $500,000. I don't know if we actually get any subsidies from the FAA.
I'm not sure
look
either.
Into that.
Yeah, but
we're going to get into a really awesome conversation here in just a second.
Clearly.
I think I already know where you're going with.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, look, guys, just if you were to look at big numbers, if you're going to come in with the private sector now, as we know, Velocity just bought, they're a private equity firm that bought the FBOs from the Marinellis, right? So and I think they took over the contract too for fuel for the military, if I recall. I could be wrong. Anyways, and I haven't really dug in since this whole time about a year ago. That south side, there was about 250,000 square feet of hangars, and it was mixed use. You had T hangars, and you had larger, 100,000.
Yeah, but the south side. So I just took a flight in that little bush plane. Part of the reason why I did that, we flew up to Laughlin for breakfast and all that. But part of the reason I did that is I told my buddy Paul, I said, dude, I need to buzz over this airport a couple times to get a good view of it. And we talked a little bit about some of the infrastructure needs and all that stuff down there. But that south side, you need a ton of dirt work.
A lot of fill.
Yeah, it's millions.
Oh yeah. So for you to even start, probably before you even get go vertical on anything, just to get infrastructure and dirt work, you're looking at $5.5 million just
That's
to dirt
nuts.
work.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So then now you're talking about all your utilities, and then so you're $6 million into this thing before you even go vertical on your own little tiny T hanger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's nothing you can really build over there, and obviously nobody's even gonna no one's building a hangar anymore without it being temperature controlled. It's just it's different nowadays.
Dude, there's hangars at our airport right now. They don't even have 220 power.
It's wild.
My buddy Paul, So if you want to get a hangar at the airport, you can get on the wait list. I have a friend that's on the wait list for
Since 1994?
5 years, and I think he's moved up one spot. He's like spot number 60 or something, right? So the way if you want to know the great way to get a hangar is you go and you buy the plane and the hangar, and then you get rid of the plane. Yes.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
So that's how, I have a couple buddies. That's how, they keep getting hangars. Well, how do you get these damn hangars?
Like, I bought the plane.
We bought the plane. Yeah. Just buy the whole thing and get rid of it.
So it's a package deal. It's like the truck and trailer and the boat at the same time.
Yeah, everything. Whatever you got to buy to get it, and then you just get rid of all the stuff later, right? Yeah. But I'm in there. I'm like, why do you got a swamp cooler in here, man? He's like, we don't have 220. And he goes, Dave, help me get 220. He goes, we'll all pay for it. We just need the ability to do it.
And that's the point.
Yeah.
The private sector is willing to pay for it.
Correct.
So $5-6 million infrastructure, the private sector will pay for it. Just the reality is for the payback, you'll have guys that will come in and build their own hangars, right? If you want to sell the dirt.
I got a better idea.
Sell the location, better way to put it.
You know, and I don't, so this is part of learning the rules of the road, right? Because I'm sure there's state laws and this, that, and the other. But why can't we partner with a builder? And why can't we as a city, I don't know, put up a bond, finance the hangars, and then get the real money on return instead of getting, your $50 a month. If the rent's what is the rent on a hangar nowadays? $300, $400.
I don't remember what it was.
It's pretty substantial, right?
It's not bad. It's okay.
To develop the hangars, what do you figure that would cost on the other pads?
Well, it depends on how big the hangars are.
$7 million?
Let's just call it. Let's say let's say an average cost per hangar. Now, mind you, these hangars are from small T hangars to larger hangars. I think the average cost per hangar was going to be about $50,000. But there was also much larger hangars.
So 50,000 times what, 65 hangars or whatever?
I think it was this, but it was 225. Here, I'll just do the numbers better. How about this? So
give me a total budget.
Okay, I'll give it to you right now. I'll remember exactly the time. I'll tell you right now.
But the question is, why can't, as you as the builder, right? Not saying that you're going to be the one building them, but as a typical builder, we typically give you the land. You guys get to make the investment and build the thing, and then you guys get rich, right?
Yeah.
Why can't we put up the money and split it with you as an investment? And that way, if we put up 10 or 15 million bucks, but we're going to make 60 indefinitely.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally, you're going to make money indefinitely off these hangars. Why can't we put up the money into it?
No.
All right, so you're looking at $27 million.
Yeah, but let's break it down even more than that. Sure. $27 million, and everybody's mind's like, that's a lot of money. But
that is not a lot of money.
Yeah, but Paradigm Storage, I did in 7 phases. So divide that by 7 because you're recouping capital. It's only $3.4 million a phase.
So why can't we partner with a builder and we'll put up the money and the land? You guys build it on your dime, and then we split it.
Do you know how easy this conversation, how far along this could have been if that conversation would have happened in all of the meetings that I've already been in with other pilots?
He's slamming on the table.
It's crazy how much. If that conversation
you slam on the table, you can hear it in the earphones.
I'm like, because I was so passionate about this. Because what it is like people come to me to fix problems. That was the reason.
That's what exactly.
They came to me and they're like, "Hey Ryan, this is what we're trying to accomplish. What we're trying to do. What do you think?" And I go to them with a solution, and then
they don't want to hear it.
And I'm like, guys, because you got to remember, and to be completely honest, it was going to benefit me too, right?
Sure.
Because all my projects are north. If I can help expand that, talk about the PR for this town and the PR for me that I get to go to my clients and say, by the way, they're expanding this and we're part of it.
And by the way, a municipality is successfully working with private industry.
Oh, and honestly, nobody else wants to deal with public-private partnerships that much anymore because they're scared of politics. If you have the right people in office, though, and you have a good, healthy contract, it makes sense. It's just for you to be able to make this happen, it takes some polish. And it takes people to move the needle, it is actually going to generate income. Like it will
generate income. It's legacy. It's mailbox money indefinitely.
Right. And because remember, it's a land lease, and you're making the land. So then there's all kinds of tax incentives for the owners, and it's just all this crazy stuff. And
there's so many benefits to it. Give me one con.
Well, think about it. So you'll laugh at this. So I kind of looked at all the projects that we've had here so far in Havasu. We've employed about 300 people for the last 5 years.
Sure.
So you bolt on another 250,000 square feet while we have other projects going on. Yes, you'll use some same subs, but some of our projects we're having to bring outside sources.
Sure.
You're employing a lot of people.
Yes.
And why I
And
always
that
try
is
to stay.
all. That is all for our economy.
Right.
Because where are they spending that money?
Yeah, and where they're going to go rent. They're going to. So you have groups. So you have like subs, which are really doing well right now because they're retaining labor, and they're retaining some of their executives. Right, they're growing as they're building. And when you have groups like me, if I go to somebody, and some of our subs are already doing this, they're saying, "Hey, look, I have Paradigm's contract. I got 5 years with Paradigm. I need 700 air conditioning, mini splits. That changes the game for that HVAC company for sure.
Yeah.
So what that means is from him as an owner, as a business owner. So the owner of the HVAC company is going to retain better labor because he has consistent business that's not going to fail. So now he can pay his guys a little bit better. You know what I mean? You're just going to have a better polished group with better systems, better technology, better trucks, better tools. It just becomes it's a mudslide of positivity is what it is.
It's called capitalism.
Right. It's called capitalism. That's it. And so of course I'm passionate about it because I'm literally witnessing it every day and we've been a big part of it. But I would love to see, and because I feel like I'm taking the interview over, dude, I'm sorry, but
no, I kind of feel like I'm interviewing you right now.
You're totally just you're pulling all the passion out of me and I appreciate it. But
my point, like I said, is, I'm not a politician. I'm a business guy. I'm an entrepreneur. So I look at this stuff and I keep coming back to the why. And what I said before we even started this, I was more excited about this podcast, even though I know it's going all over the country and it's not directly to the voters of Lake Havasu.
Oh, it's going to go. I'm driving it there.
Because I get to sit down with a guy that thinks like me, even though we didn't met before. You understand the basic fundamental point that there is no problem that isn't solvable. It's just a question of how much energy you're willing to put at it until you solve it. And that goes across the board, right? And if I wanted to say, hey, I'm going to bring Elon Musk to Lake Havasu, people that have never jumped off the cliff and started a business will say, that's impossible. People like us would say, I wonder what it would take to get it done.
Well, after you jump
and that's a fundamental difference between people.
Yeah, if you've jumped off a cliff a few times and you've actually been able to build the planes, even though you passed a few, you're like, it makes it easier to build that plane on the next job.
Yeah, but the point is what would it take to get it done? It's not impossible. It's just what would it actually take? And I can tell you what it would take. It would take some serious tax incentives and stuff like that. But, all these things that I've said in my campaign, the infrastructure, city beautification, bringing industry. People say, well, that's impossible. No, it's not. It's not even that difficult if you know how to do it. And these people are already reaching out to me and all these things are already happening. And looking at a budget and saying, oh, we got $2 million for roads. This is not rocket science, guys. And these are not campaign promises. I can tell you they're River Dave guarantees. We're going to get this done because it's that easy. And if I tasked you with any one of the problems that this city is facing, you could solve them.
I don't know if I'm going to sign up for it.
No, I understand that. But the fact is, you personally could do it.
I believe in myself enough. Yeah, I believe
and
I have the right resources.
That's the way that I have the right resources. You're not electing me, man.
Yeah.
You're electing a very intelligent network of people that surround me.
And that's, we just talked about that when we pulled up too. It's like you're electing somebody that like really cares about the community, of course, has seen the deficiencies and has witnessed one-on-one of the things that needs to change.
Sure.
However, it's the resources that you really have behind him, right? It's like our current administration, he's got resources back there. And that's really what it comes down to. It's just knowing, who to reach out to and how to, the right guidance and the right people with the right moral compass. Is that
correct?
All right. So let's move over to healthcare because healthcare is a huge part of Lake Havasu. Let's talk a little bit about,
that's the problem. It's not a huge part.
It's a huge.
The problem is we're missing it.
It's a deficiency that is becoming a bigger problem in conversations. Let's put it that way. The conversation's always been, we don't have enough. It's not good enough. The list goes on.
Sure.
What's your perspective? What can you do? What are you thinking? Let's go over healthcare.
So I have my Wednesday Foundry thing, and there's people from the hospital there virtually every week. And I ask them right there. And that's one of the cool things about the Foundry, right? The deal that we're doing, it's actually a back and forth. It's not so much speaking, it's a Q&A. So we get to listen to what they're saying as well, right? One of the problems that we have is traveling nurses. And I don't know if you know about that whole scam, but it's crazy. And it drives health prices through the roof.
Yep.
But they're working on fixing that by upping the pay rates for the locals now. In terms of the hospital, it's 10% private owned. We do not have a lot of control over that. What I can tell you is Grace Hecht was, believe it or not, I've had more candidates come through the Foundry thing. I was senators, our Senate president. I mean, you name it. Yeah. LD30 candidates, treasurer. I mean, you name it. They've all come through there and spoke on Wednesdays, right?
Nice.
But Grace Hecht, she's running for LD30. She's out of Bullhead. And I just took her aside. I said, Grace, you guys got that brand new Excel health facility up there. I said, all my friends that live in Bullhead rave about this thing. They say it's the best thing that's ever happened. I said, how did you get it? Right? You would think that, I don't know, the people in charge might ask them, how did you get it? Nobody has. They went to ICSC, which is a trade show up in Vegas. They have their little easy up in their little table. And they walked up to them and said, tell us about your town. And that's literally what happened. Obviously, I love trade shows. I'm a trade show guy. Yeah. But I'm just going to call Grace and say, Grace, give me their number. Mm-hmm. Because I want to fly them into Havasu and talk about our new facility that'll be coming in soon, right? These are not impossible problems to solve if you actually attempt to solve them, right? So we have our PED again. This is $500,000 that goes absolutely nowhere. You know what the actual biggest complaint is second to healthcare? Veterinarians. That is,
I didn't think of that.
We have to drive to Kingman to get vet care because our vets are all booked up. And we had one vet, they moved out of town and they closed down. Why can't we take some of this economic development money? Why can't we go to a veterinary college and say, hey, we'll take a couple of students and one senior guy. We're going to give you an opportunity to set up shop in Lake Havasu. We had one that just closed down. That building's not leased yet. We'll pay the rent on the building for a year. If it's $7,000 a month, $6,000 a month, we'll call it $7 for easy math, right? So you're looking at, what is that, $84,000?
Just call it $10,000 all in with you.
Sure, call it $100,000.
Yeah.
Now you've got a veterinarian in Lake Havasu, and you have a startup business. To me, when you say partnership and economic development, and their charter is to bring business to Lake Havasu,
way more than $100,000 a year, way more.
So now you are getting
way more
profitable.
Yep.
So what is so wrong with being profitable? You know, like all these people nowadays, they make it sound like poor is the new cool, right? And it's crazy to me. And why do governments always have to just be spend? You know, so we're talking the big hot potato right now. Actually, you heard a little bit about it in that city council meeting. The splash pad. The splash pad for Lake Havasu has now become, it's a $1.5 million project, which I don't even know how they get $1.5 million. Actually, I do know how they get it. I'll bring it up. You know, $1.5 million on a 303 budget, right? This particular thing has become the hot potato of whether you are fiscally responsible or not. The moms want it, right?
Yeah.
So the conservatives are like, we're not spending that money. The less than conservatives are saying, no problem, we're going to spend that money. And there's this huge argument over 1.5, right? Nobody thinks to ask the question, where'd the 1.5 come from, right? I got an even better question. So the answer to that is we looked around at other cities and that's about what they cost. And we just kind of plug and play, you know, you want your little squirting lizard here and this, that. I said, no wonder we're always coming in second place to Bullhead nowadays. You're looking at what they did and just kind of matching it. That's not acceptable. First off, we're going to build a splash pad. We're going to build the best splash pad you ever seen. But here's question number 2. Why does it always have to be an entitlement project? Why can't it be a profit center? And I said that. Everybody in the room's looking at me like I was speaking Chinese. And they're like, well, how do you make money on a splash pad? I said, you ever been to an amusement park?
Charge a fee.
No. What happens at the end of that? You know, that big round tube, the whole family goes through the rapids?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
At the very back, at the very end of that ride when it's over, they have water cannons, and you literally walk up and you tap your ATM card, and then you get to spray your family. What would happen if you had 2 rows of water cannons? I have kids, man. If we had that when they were little, my credit card would be on fire from the time we got there to the time we left.
I'd just take my kids to Mulligan's and all kinds of, I was broke every time I'd leave there on Friday nights, man. That was in 2008. I had no money anyway.
I'm talking to Jess. Like I said, I really like Jess. I really do. He's a really personable guy. But I says, hey, Jess, you know, I got an idea. Why don't we do like a 6-inch deep lazy river? And he goes, I've never heard of that before. I says, well, the mom shows up. She's got her inner tubes. When you're floating in even a big guy like you, if you're floating in an inner tube, you're only drafted this much water, right? I said, you do a 6-inch lazy river all the way around the thing, right? And that way the mom could set up her little deal, have her umbrella, and the kids go around. I says, oh, you want the rapids experience, which is basically like the jacuzzi bubbles to shake the rafts? Get your credit card out. Oh, you want the waterfall to land on them? Get your credit card out. You know what Tempe does with their parks? When they build them, they put in 2 concrete pads, sewer, electrical, and water. Then they do it to the food concessionaires. They say, oh, 4th of July weekend's coming up. We'll rent you that spot for $1,000.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
So now you're generating income. Do you know what happens when the splash pad goes from an entitlement project to a profit center? You think the city's going to let people vandalize it? Do you think they're going to let homeless people there? Or do you think they're going to protect it like it's the Ark? Well, or do you think they might even build more of them?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Why does it always have to be money going out? Why can't we recover some money and have it coming back in, right?
Smart. Yeah, and then police are gonna have their kids and their wives and so forth.
Everybody, dude.
Whatever, and they're gonna go patrol it all the time.
Correct. And you know what? A 6-inch lazy river is safe. And I might even get in a tube and float around it with my kids, right? Like, it can be fun for the family. It doesn't, nobody thinks outside the box, and nobody's asking, why does it cost us much, or how can we make money on it? It's just kind of common sense.
Yeah.
If I told you, hey, Ryan, up at that community you're doing with the 68 homes, what's the name of that? Paradigm Flats?
The Flats, yeah.
Okay, Flats. Well, I said, okay, you know what, Ryan, we're going to rezone that. We're going to take out 6 of the units if you don't want them, but we're going to put a water park in there, right?
Oh,
I would just say, you put a water park in there, right? You're not going to build some crappy little water park. You're going to do something cool.
Well, because it's married to my brand.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Why do we always have to be like, oh, they did this, so we can kind of match it? Why can't we do something better?
Yeah, well, if you win, just give me the reins on some cool stuff. I'll do all kinds of cool stuff around here.
Well,
especially for
what?
Kids, because I'm a big, my son. I don't know if you know this. I have full custody of my oldest son, and he's now a 3.8 GPA for baseball. They just opened up over there that
split knuckle.
Yeah, which is cool, and he's got a batting coach. I guess it's really pretty good. I've got a chance to meet him, but Shane, my oldest son, 3.8 GPA. We just went up to Oregon. He just did a showcase. He's a D1 player. All of his numbers were there. 13th fastest out of 300. But
wow.
Yeah, 2.0 pop time. I actually had one of the guys that's here. Apparently, I think he's a scout for the Yankees, if I recall. I think he's reached out to me on social media, wanted to meet Shane, right? And he's here. So that's another testament to people that are here. Well, that youth, I didn't know that exists. And so Shane is out here. He's like, yeah, I have a batting coach now out there. I'm like, wait, what? I knew they were building something there, and it was for that type of stuff, for conditioning for kids and youth. But that's the stuff I would love to continue to support, because I think that's
so Super Cat Fest. It's one of the largest charity fundraisers for Lake Havasu, and all that money that we raise goes to the youth of Lake Havasu. And so we're actually developing an RC race, an RC complex down in Sarah Park right now. It's about 7 acres.
Yep, I heard about it.
And Super Cat, when it's all said and done, we'll put in 50,000 this year, and then next year we'll put in another 50, because I want it, when it's done, I want it to be the nicest RC complex in Western Arizona.
Love it.
I don't want to compete with Phoenix and Vegas. I want Phoenix and Vegas saying, we want to come here, right?
Sure.
But Split Knuckle, we're actually going to be donating to them. I think we're donating 15,000 so they can run some sort of scholarship program.
Oh, cool.
So that's one of them.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that I'd love to just continue to see out here too. That type of stuff. Kids, there's not enough stuff for kids. One of the biggest complaints is we don't have, childcare here. And that's the thing. We just don't have. I don't, dude. Yeah, I'm not going to deal with that.
We can definitely improve on a lot of things. We've done just a little over $1 million in 4 years right now.
Yeah.
But I'm one guy, man.
I know. Yeah. And you got all these other things with it. And so to kind of sum up to finish up the airport I think is something that can really generate a lot of revenue. If that was improved.
So stop looking at it as a spending money thing, and let's look at it as how do we make money. And I'll tell you, if we were to partner with private and do it correctly, I have to check on some of the legalities of that. Yeah. But if we could use our city funds, if we could put up a bond, right, and the bond's 2 or 3% interest. But once it's built, we're making 10 or 15% interest. The people watching this are smart. Yes, you do that every time. If I could borrow money from you for 1% and invest it and make 10%.
Oh, that's the most common thing that rich people do. They leverage assets for cheap capital, and they go and deploy it for bigger returns all day long.
I have a very, very wealthy friend, and he came home the other day with 50 motorcycles, 50. Jeez. Right? He went into this guy's garage, and the old Trail 70 Hondas and all that stuff. This guy had 110 of them in there. And anyhow, they're all perfectly restored and all this stuff. And, coming home with 50 of them, right? And the wife's like, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I knew about what they're worth. And the guy told me he would take this much for him. He goes, well, I guess I'm in the classic motorcycle game today. And she goes, what do you know about classic motorcycles? He goes, I don't know nothing about pumpkins either, but if I could buy pumpkins here for $1 and sell them for $3 over there, I'm in the pumpkin business.
For sure.
So we just got to start looking at some of this stuff and saying, how do we stop bleeding and how do we start profiting? Mm-hmm. The airport is a huge opportunity.
Such a big opportunity.
Huge opportunity. So that guy with that G650 flew in, right? Mm-hmm. And I heard a rumor around town. I heard that guy walked in there, cash in hand, let me do this. Mm-hmm. Nobody from the city even reached out to the guy?
Not from my understanding, yeah.
Dude, that plane flies in here and I'm the mayor. I'm going up there to shake that guy's hand and say, what can we do for you, sir? Welcome to Lake Havasu. How much money would you like to invest in our little town and what do we get out of it?
Yeah. Well, we ended up, I was actually coming out of Home Depot and I saw it coming in. Yeah. And I was like, dude, that's a G650. Like that's a $50 million win.
Yeah, it's about a $50 million plane.
Yeah. And so I'm driving down, I get on the 95, I'm watching this thing land and I'm like, man, there's some money into this town. And boom, I was all over social media. And then come to find out who it was. And I'm not going to drop the name, but these are people that love this town that are willing to invest that type of money. But really to go back to parts of this, and part of our, lunch was, bringing in grocery stores, bringing in grocery stores, bringing in more healthcare.
The viewers aren't going to see that, but I'm sitting there saying, hey, all we need is a turboprop.
What is that?
It's a little turboprop.
That thing is
one of my buddies.
Looks like heck yeah, that thing's
So rad. I'm saying, we need air service with the turboprop, and all these people are telling me that's impossible, Dave. And I'm like, dude, my buddies own these goddamn things. I mean, that's not a true, cattle wagon carrier turboprop.
Yeah.
That's a $4.5 million airplane.
Well, but just for conversation purposes, this look at the steel pieces on this. Yeah. I mean, look at that hanger. That alone. I mean, if you even look how they mounted the HVAC, that's not even close to how much I have in Paradigm Storage. This would be, he only has one partition here. He has none of this paneling. That's just insulation. This right here, that whole piece is probably $40,000.
Yeah, swipe to the left. See another one of those airplanes.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. That's a Cirrus, an SR-22.
Yeah, that's actually the most expensive
but
Cirrus ever made.
But look at that. Look at the steel piece. This is an older hanger, you can tell.
That's the one he wants. That's the one he wants 220 in.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So that's foam insulated. Anyways, the point is that's going to be built pretty cheap. But look, you got that plane, by the way, is way more expensive than a hangar.
Oh, yeah.
But, they'll give you an idea. But that's the point, right? And this is where the data comes from where I'm going with building Paradigm. The people that are buying these units, like for example,
make sure you talk into the microphone. We're getting a little echoey.
So right next to in Paradigm Storage, my last building we built some really big man caves is what we call them. We just sold, it was a 80 by 40 drive-through. We sold it for $565,000. Nice. Which was a lot, But the point is, the guy who bought it just built a brand new 50-foot center console MTI with 500s on it.
Of course,
he's got a gooseneck trailer with a sport chassis, and then he's got some other toys that he's got in that thing. Mm-hmm. But the point is that people have that type of money; they're going to spend money to protect their assets.
Correct,
and that's still an asset because they purchase it fee simple. He's get the write off, the bonus depreciation. It's like it was an all around good investment. He was so excited that he was able to own a storage unit rather than just
rather than rent it or lease it forever, right?
Yeah. So if you can,
but that's what gets me so excited about the hangars. If we partner, that's mailbox money for life for the city. I'm telling you, dude, if you built that thing out, that amount of money, the city could have its own King Air to fly our citizens to and from Vegas.
Dude, I was looking at, so there were a couple studies done, and I don't remember the numbers, but I'm gonna back down into it because I think what I was looking at is almost $5 million a year in revenue after expenses and taxes.
That's what I'm saying.
If $5 million on one asset and generating, I mean, why not?
And that's not even as aggressive a partnership as I'm talking about. If we actually put up the money, it would be more.
Well, that's my point. And that was just straight up on land leases and some, some just revenue and
that's just the revenue on the little bit of the land lease. It's not when you actually partner with somebody, you can take that number and quadruple.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So,
and that's why, and again, that's not for, but then it actually getting done. And I know there's some legal movement, moving pieces to it, but that if someone just really put their energy into it, like all of these other towns around the country are expanding, why can't we? It's just not that. That's why I don't understand it.
And do it responsibly, right? Make sure that if you're going to do it, it's first class, And, so this is such a refreshing conversation. Every single thing since this mayor thing. What are you going to do? Infrastructure, city beautification, enforce the laws, this, that. And, I give my standard canned answers. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it, which I always provide solutions. Everybody else, they kind of give you a word salad. I said, this is exactly how we're going to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And then everybody that knows me say, yeah, you'll get it done. Everybody that doesn't know me says, well, those are impossible, or campaign promises. It's always the same things, but it's so nice to have a real conversation, be like, why can't we do this? Or let's take a look into this. Yeah. Or, hey, let's do this. Or, hey, here's a problem. Let's go work on it together. Yeah. And with the case of your Paradigm Flats, truly this election is over in 2 or 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And if I win it, I won't be the mayor till November, but I guarantee you I'll walk into P&Z with you and say, let's revisit the 68 and see what you want to do there. Mm-hmm. If it makes it a better project, we can probably get that done. Yeah. This is not... And and people will be like, oh, he's using the influence to threaten peace. No, it's not, dude. It's just trying to make it better for the town.
But there's a lot of really sophisticated builders and developers in the area that would appreciate that type of thinking as well, right? I mean, because there's so many guys out here that really have the capacity and they build. Look at Scott Ward. Look at the guy. Look at what he's building in the Riviera. I mean, dude, there's
as long as it's beneficial to the town, mm-hmm. I will always step in to try to help. Mm-hmm. If it's one of those, if it's one of those, hey, we're going to do this, it's not beneficial to the town, but it's going to be a super high profit margin for this developer, and all we need you to do is change this, I'm going to say no. Sorry about your luck. And I'm in a real estate business. Yeah. But I'm the first one. That new development out on the island there, the 88 acres or whatever. I own a real estate company, and I went in there and I said, I wish this was more resort and less residential. Which that hurts me. Yeah. That is how I feel. I want to see this town as it grow into something. I mean, we travel all over. You've been to Lotto. You've been to all these places. Mm-hmm. They are growing, and the stuff they're doing is super cool. Oh, we are growing, and the things we are doing are not super cool.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And I think that's the problem, right? It's like when the amount of exposure I've had to other municipalities and when you
cities, look at it, why can't we do the same thing? And these people that are always saying like, Dave, it's impossible. I'm like, no, dude, I've traveled. Mm-hmm. I've traveled. That's key. And it is, we're not inventing the wheel here. Mm-hmm. We're just looking at what they're doing, mm-hmm. and hopefully we can do it better.
There's parts in California, I hate to say it, and I don't even want to bring up the California brand, but sure. There are parts in California that is easier to build and develop than it has been out here.
I believe it.
It's just incredible. And there's so much available, land, and so much opportunity and as far as it's just so much we can do here.
We are the crown jewel of Mojave County. Mm-hmm. 8 years ago. Have you been here about 8 years?
I've been here forever. I mean, I've been coming out here for 35 years, but I've lived here full time going on 3.
Okay, 3. 8 years ago, Bullhead was trash.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. I mean, literally.
He wasn't even on the radar.
It was just trash. Yeah. I mean, you go to the Target there, or you drive through the place, you know what I mean? They had a couple of okay Mexican restaurants, but other than that, you're like, really, dude? They switched their city council. They are beating us in every. Yeah. I mean, it's not even close. If this was a heavyweight
fight.
They
have like Sam's Clubs and they have all
it's not even just that. I mean, their water park. Have you seen it? Google it on your phone. Say Bullhead splash pad image. And then compare it to, we have a couple of little things that squirt out of the ground and the homeless bathe in it. Oh, God. Look at this thing. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Here, images. Holy jeez, dude.
They smoke us in every single category.
Like a stand-up jet ski and, it's like slides. And, this is like super modern.
Yeah.
They put in all those, all that water features. I mean, covered, man, it's crazy. All that,
They changed their city council, and in 8 years, they took that place from trash to surpassing Lake Havasu. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. Have you looked at the background of those people that are on city council?
Yeah, they're all entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. It's one of the guys needs major dental work, right? But he's just a good old boy that understands business, and they're all business people. They got elected, and they were like, we're not doing this anymore. This is what we're doing. And they changed that city in 8 years they were a distant second, to now they're surpassing us in every category, whether it's the Excel health facility, the splash pad. They had ADOT put in those stupid medians in the 95. You know what they did? They took over the 95 and ripped them right back out.
Oh, yeah.
Everything that is pissing us off in Havasu, they solved.
And I'm just saying, all these people say, well, you can't do that. Yes, you can. I talked to Leo Biosucci. You want to know what you do? 95 was just paved. You assume responsibility for it right now. We ripped that thing out, right? We could either do earth berms with decorative rock like they do in every desert town, or we could do smaller medians that actually, don't encroach on the lanes. And we could do palm trees and beautiful, beautiful landscaping like they do in Palm Desert. These are not impossible things to do. By the way, we assume the 95 in about 20 years when it's due for a repave, you give it back.
Yeah. And they handle it. Yeah.
Literally, it's that simple.
Yeah.
Leo's like, you can do it, Dave, no problem. And all these people are like, that's impossible. No, it's not. It's not even difficult. It's not even difficult.
Yeah.
Just because you don't know how to do it doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah, you just got to be able to pull the right strings. And that's, I think the best way to understand if it can be done is have other people done it. Has it?
Yes, they have.
Has the bullhead done it? If local bullheads done, why can't we do it?
We don't even have to travel far to see that it can be done. Bullhead's already done it.
Vegas is doing it.
Yes.
Phoenix is doing all kinds of stuff. Why is it that we can't do it? That's really just as simple as dumbed down as that.
Yeah.
So okay. So what else do you
I'm
want to
waiting
touch
for
on?
you to put on the hat.
I'll put it on right now.
I've been trying to see if I've earned your vote yet.
There we go. We'll put it on right here.
There you go.
Yeah, it's funny. I won't even tuck in my ears. So how's it look? Does it look
Looks good. I'm
We're
gonna
take a picture of it.
I'm gonna take a picture of that.
Right, here's Ryan right there taking a picture.
Ryan's non-biased video here.
Love
Our
it.
podcast.
That's right. So to sum up, is there anything else you want the audience to know about you? Is there anything that you want to address that's been, oh, you know what? Let me say stuff before we go there. I do have one request.
Sure.
All of these platforms on social media that just badmouth everybody, I want to handle that. I want to get in front of this shit because that is dude, people are dying over it. The gentleman that owned or did that Storage Wars or whatever that shot himself or killed himself.
Daryl was actually a friend of mine. I'm not convinced he killed himself, but that's what the police say. But I just have a hard time believing he would do that. And
yeah, I agree. Over social media stuff.
The social media stuff, and these dude, they're clowns.
Well, we even talked about it. There's 3 or 4 people or 5 people or so that are really
so
the ones.
The town's 60,000 people, right? Technically, we're 30% Democrat registered. Mm-hmm. There's about 20 of them that in terms of the mayor race, that are just out of control. Dave lies about this. Dave doesn't even put on Super Cat Fest. Dave this, Dave that. I had one guy claiming I abducted children. And what's funny is I'll share this with you because it never got shared anywhere else. But I made this video and I thought it was hilarious. I was like, I'm down at SeaWorld, man. I dropped the kids off at the SeaWorld cartel and it's weird, man. They made me pay. I thought they were supposed to be paying us for this shit, like stuff like that. And I was going to have one of my kids, in my RV garage, I have a bathroom and all that. I was going to have one of my kids in there like banging on the door, being like, help. My campaign manager was like, absolutely not, Dave. Absolutely not. I'm like, dude, they're saying we are abducting children. I'm trying to get rid of kids. I got too many kids, right? But anyhow, these guys, man, I feel sorry for them. We've kind of tiptoed around it. But there's people that do things and understand the way that the world actually works. Mm-hmm. And there's people that live with their moms that don't.
Yeah.
And
it's a mental health. It
really is. So like there's like 10 of these guys. And one of them doesn't even live with his mom. One of them actually does. I happen to know that for a fact. And I feel really truly bad for the guy, but that's not my problem.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be out there doing this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at this stuff and they, I brought up that I flew up in a bush plane, right? Mm-hmm. These people would have no concept of the idea that you can fly to a different airport, land the plane, they'll hand you the keys to a car, and you can go anywhere you want, come back and give them back the car, and you don't have to pay for it, right? They don't know about courtesy cars. They don't even know that this world exists. Yeah. So to them, everything's impossible because they've never done anything, and that's not to say like all Democrats have never done anything. It's just these 10 or 20 guys. When you get that level of hate, it's because you're too stupid to breathe, man.
Like I said, I don't carry too much into it, but it's truly a mental health issue. Like it's because they've never met you, what have you, and you're going so far into like what's the objective for what? Like because they just simply don't like you or your views
it's just
or whatever.
They,
it's so crazy.
Honestly, so like in the case of most of them, I think that they're so kind of insignificant in life that they feel if they can affect some kind of outcome that it gives them purpose. Mm-hmm. But there's that little viral thing going around right now that says, hey, if somebody's, if nobody's talking behind your back, you're not relevant. If somebody doesn't, if somebody doesn't try to take advantage of you, you have no value, right? But at the very end of it, it says something very important. Hate always comes from below.
That's true.
It never comes from above.
No. Anybody that I know that really has a lot to just respect in life and has been kicked in the teeth, they just don't say things like that.
No.
They just don't. They don't get on platforms. They are not keyboard warriors. They just don't play that game. But that's the one thing I'm like, I'm going to build a little coalition of that. I'm going to go after some of these people.
I like joking around online, having fun, even talking a little bit, but not, dude, I don't generally hate anybody. Like, there's just not enough time in the day to do it. Like, how could you even let somebody get inside your head that much that you would care?
Dude, I'll do one step above that. I barely remember people's names.
Yeah.
I just don't
well, every time I open Facebook, if I open my Facebook right now, I can show you the same 4 or 5 names. It'll be all the notifications.
It's all fake accounts.
No, these ones are actually real, but they it's like a full-time job for them. And I'm like, dude, if you guys spent half the effort on trying to make money, improving your life, doing whatever that you're spending on this, then I'm not even joking. If they spent half the effort towards self-improvement, whether that be financially, mentally, physically, they would be years ahead of where they're at right now. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they're all broke, and
and living that life.
Yeah, just living that life, And those are the guys. It's like, oh, you're filthy rich friends. It's like, dude, what is wrong with having money? When did poor become the new cool, man? Because I can't dig that. I don't want to be poor,
Nobody really wants to live that way. It's very hard.
No. And money doesn't, bring happiness, but I can tell you, a lack of money sure brings sadness.
Well, the last thing you want is have money, or you don't have any money and you have some healthcare issues or something.
Yes, exactly.
It's just like it's very difficult. That's where I'm at in my life. I'm trying to store a little nest egg because my son, he had some really big things happen to him, and it's cost me a lot of money. And I was so blessed that I had prepared for that because our insurance dropped us. Because insurance is another big issue.
Oh, that's a nationwide issue, and I as staunch Republican as I am, and I do not believe in government-run healthcare, but we got some issues here, man. Because that the number one driver, in my opinion, of middle class going towards poverty right now, fuel prices, healthcare. Mm-hmm. Fuel prices drive everything up. You want to talk construction costs, materials, they drive everything up, right? And it's
food, everything.
But healthcare, for my family, we're spending like $2,500 a month, and
same.
And it's like, normal people can't afford that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you're working a $20 an hour job,
a decent, policy. It's not even anything.
Yeah, no, it's a shit. It's not even a great policy, and a great policy is more like $6,000 a month for my family. Right. But if you're making 20 or 23 bucks an hour, 24 bucks an hour, you're not going to be able to afford that. Mm-hmm. And a house and a car, and a truck and a boat, and middle class used to mean middle class. You had the 2 cars, a couple of toys, a house. Mm-hmm. The house with an actual yard and a dog. Yeah. It was like, I think it was like 2.3 kids and you know what I mean? You remember all that?
That was the number.
But, everybody keeps, over on the affordable housing thing, everybody keeps saying, we got to make houses cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. You can't. You can't. You got an iPhone, right? You know what? You're in business, and everybody in your podcast is in business. What happens if you keep trying to make this cheaper and cheaper and cheaper? You end up with junk. Mm-hmm. If you try to make these glasses cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, you're going to end up with glasses you don't want. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be a better philosophy to say, why don't we bring some industry here so the have-nots can become haves?
Yeah.
I would rather bring up the low than try to take something good and make it cheap.
Well, bring in good businesses that are able to generate enough revenue that's relevant in the world.
Correct.
And to actually pay good labor and pay money.
And people say, this is impossible. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. I had a guy come to my foundry deal, and he's like, Dave, he goes, you're saying this stuff, and people aren't listening. He goes, I lived in this small town. I don't remember what state it was in. He goes, but we had a military installation next to us. And the whole town just lived on the military, just whatever the military installation, that's what they do, right? And finally, they got a city council together, and the city council says, we're done with this, man. And they created an industry zone, and they got all these businesses in. And he goes, all of a sudden, that town went from starving to thriving. Mm-hmm. So I think I told you at lunch that this guy, Mark, called me from Duncan Bolt, and it's like $100 million a year. You guys can Google it if you want. But he called me and he said, hey, I want to set up a distribution thing out there. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And, what's that look like? He's like, I don't know, like 20 jobs. And, after we talked a couple of times, he's like, I'm thinking about moving the whole thing out there. Where's the closest rail service? This is not impossible, guys. These people are actually already calling me. I had a big cabinet manufacturer, not kitchen cabinets, like big metal cabinets. They called me and they said, hey, man, we want to talk about possibly relocating to Havasu. And these are pretty big businesses, man.
Yeah.
If you get, call it 200 or 300 skilled labor jobs in here that are career paths, right?
Like real careers.
Injection molding, machining, whether, Duncan Bolt comes, manufacturing, and that a company that you could start at, and you start at 18 or 20 bucks an hour, you work there for 30 years, and when you're done, you're making, 80 bucks an hour, 60 bucks an hour. This is not impossible.
Or companies like that issue stock and plan on exiting.
Well, Duncan Bolt's actually employee owned, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know.
I started Googling it and all that, because I started researching the guy,
Those are the companies that are really forward thinking. Like, that's why there's so many roll ups with HVACs, roofing companies, what have you. You have a private equity structure. These guys come in and say, hey, look, it's employee owned and employees have stock.
Yeah.
When I go
that
to
way,
sell,
when they're done,
everyone's
they
got
can
a
sell
big,
you. Yeah.
And they have a basically a retirement plan built in, not just a 401k. It's a big deal.
Well, if you actually research 401ks in the history, they were never designed to be retirement accounts.
I know. They're so bad, dude. It's just, that's a rabbit hole in itself. Okay. So let's wrap this up. So is there anything else that you want the community to know about you, that whether it's just, bring up something that's been negative online, positive online, or just something you want to share? Because again, like I said in the beginning, and I said this to Cal too, to go into something like this takes, I think, a very special person that really cares about the community and just is really trying to create an impact, but is obviously just pulling at their heart to be a part of something because they want to make change. They need to, you feel like if he doesn't, it's going to get really bad.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not a doomsdayer, man.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say if I don't win, the Havasu's going down in flames. It's not true. It's just not going to get any better.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, and it's all the things that are being said, by the current regime, we have heard for 8 years. If it worked, we wouldn't be where we're at, right? And so there's two things here, right? You mentioned earlier that you sacrificed because you're a workhorse. Well, there's two types of horses. There's workhorses and there's show ponies. Which one do you think I am?
Yeah,
I will sit there and I'm not a politician. If you say we can't do this, I'm going to say, okay, well, we're going to sit down and figure out a way to do it, right? And we're going to get it solved. And if you tell me, well, you can't do that, I want to say, well, we're going to figure out a way around that. But no matter what, we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Right. And, so people, are we running out of time? Oh, I thought he was signaling.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it is, what campaign promise, you can pick any one of them, right? And I'll say, this is how we're going to do it. And it may not happen on the first day, but I guarantee you, I'm not going to stop working on it until it is. And that's the difference. I'm not a show pony, man. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you this is what we're doing, and then we're going to go do it. If I say, like, Ryan, try to pick up that hat right there. Okay, you didn't do it. Try to pick up that hat right there. Okay, so you didn't try to pick up the hat. You picked up the hat. Do you see the difference? There's no trying. There's either doing or don't doing, right? And that's a great example. I saw that on social media the other day, so I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
But that's it. We're not going to try to fix things. We're going to fix them.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And I love that because, it's just, I think that's what everybody wants. The people that believe that the city needs to be improved, they just want to see someone that's going to do it. You have a track record of doing things.
Yeah. We started Super Cat from nothing. Now it's, one of the premier events on the West Coast. It raises
easy.
Hundreds of thousands. No, it's a pain in the ass, but, but we do it.
It's not easy, man. People think, oh, maybe it's just fun. He's out there drinking. I'm like,
no.
It's real work.
Yes. It takes months. It takes months. And during the event, I get to go to bed at like 2 a.m. and my phone starts ringing at 5 a.m. for 5 days straight, so that's always a good time. But
little lethargic days.
Yeah, but literally, I do have a proven track record, right? I took a personal website. Now it's the largest performance boating website in the country. I started a real estate.
You just showed me proof of how much views.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Me and my wife started a real estate team. Now it's one of the top 5 or top 3 to 5 in Havasu every single year. We're averaging 75 million in sales. We don't even have any developers backing us. That's all resale.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. Yeah.
So do we have track records of success? I would say yes. I've like any person, you have your failures, right? You tried something and it didn't work. But those failures make you better.
Yeah.
And after a while, you start figuring out that you don't want to fail and you start seeing the warning signs on the road and you're able to navigate those things, right? What do they say about captains, boat captains? Everybody wants to be a boat captain until it's time to do captain things, right?
True. Yeah.
And that's the same as this. Have I ever been a mayor or in city politics? No. But a budget's a budget. And as I asked you ever built a skyscraper? No. Could you? Yes. So we're just going to take the certain skill sets that I have and apply them towards this job. And we're going to take the network of people. I tend to like to surround myself with people like yourself, high level, intelligent people. And like I said, they're not electing me, man. I'm not going to go in there with a, prime example. I'll show you. Sean Buckley was the CEO of Go Lake Havasu, right? And I've made it very publicly that, that I intend on replacing Go Lake Havasu. But if you look at that text to him, it basically says, I'm not coming in with a sledgehammer and saying you guys are all fired. It says, I want to take a look at the assets that they have, the positive things that they have. I want to look at the visitor center and see how we can keep that going, see how we can retain any of the positive things and reform.
That's a great text.
Reform and reshape that. Well, I didn't send that, with the idea of being on a podcast. I'm saying, though, that we're already making plans on how,
how to make things better.
How to make it better, right? When I say I want to scrape Go Lake Havasu, I do want to scrape Go Lake Havasu, but I don't want the women working the visitor center to lose their job. I don't want to lose the Go Lake Havasu website. I don't want to lose these things. I want to go in and say, okay, what do we really need to do this? And let's do that. And then how can we make you effective? And then the rest of the money we're going to put towards something else that is actually effective towards tourism.
Yeah, that's really important for people to see, is that you're already doing work. In essence, you're already kind of making those calls and phone calls and meetings or what have you.
And saying,
okay, if I do and when I do, this is what we need to start right now.
I don't want to hit the ground and say, okay, guys, let's have a meeting. I want to hit the ground and say, implement plan A. Yeah.
Love it. Cool.
So we're already making plans with several people that either were former or current with the city to say, yes, Sean, if you can bring me contract tourism, prove that you're profitable more than yourself, you're hired by the city. In the meantime, you're in charge of getting all this stuff back into the fold.
Love it.
Right. And if there's a million examples of that, I've already, I should go on record saying I've had a lot of meetings about things that are going to change, but yeah, we've had a few. How does that sound? I would say that things
are coming to you at the foundry. Got it.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised. They come to me all over the place. But, you're in business. And in business, I've always had a philosophy. And I kind of came up with it when I was young. When you're in business, there's only two states of business that you're in. You're either inspirational or desperate. Desperational, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
So, like I'll take the DCB MTI story, right? Because you're pretty familiar with that, right? So MTI played in their little corner over here, and DCB is inspirational in Lake Havasu and now all the West Coast, right? Well, DCB went out there, started doing the Miami thing, right? Well, MTI responded, and they came over here. But the problem is, MTI has the big center consoles and all that. So DCB all of a sudden went from inspirational to putting together renderings of a center console. Remember that? Now they were operating as desperational, right? When their customers would sell and buy an MTI, they would call me like, hey, what's going on? That is desperate. They finally responded back with their new True Tunnel series, right? And so now they're bringing back inspiration. But if you're always leading from inspiration, you're winning.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the opposite campaigns make adjustments to their campaigns because of me. That is not inspirational. That's desperational. That's how you know you're winning.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, well, I respect it.
Yeah.
Cool. Dave, thank you very much for coming, man.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate it. I'd love to come back anytime.
Dude,
if we win, we're going to be sitting down here talking all the time about how we can make things better.
And anything I can do to help you and just be a fly on the wall at times, I don't ask for much. I'm pretty easy. I just want to stay in my lane and do good work and improve other people's lives. And this is my focus now, man.
Well, it's a really cool place. I think I'm going to join it.
Come on by. I'd love to. Dude, it's so cool to see everybody in here because we have some prominent people in the city that join. And I get to see them every day, and the relationships are monetizing more and more because I see them every day. It's really pretty neat. So, well, thank you very much for all the support, man. I really do appreciate it.
No problem.
We'll get this out here shortly, and hopefully we'll just get this in front of people to get to know you more. So,
well, if you live in Lake Havasu, check the box for River Dave. My preferred slate, although we're not running as a slate, is Michelle Led, Sam Scarmato, and Neil Tinsley as well.
There you go, buddy.
So,
cool.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.